Good to have you with us. Ed Schultz, Facebook Live. Give me a call, 202-909-1492. Did I ever tell you I really like polls? I mean, sometimes I hate polls, but most of the time I like them. 57% of the American people support the president making the decision to hit Syria with 59 cruise missiles. And today at the White House press briefing, Sean Spicer said that the administration felt well within the legal limits, and they did not have to seek congressional approval under Article 2 of the Constitution. In the meantime, folks, the USS Carl Vinson aircraft carrier group, supported by numerous destroyers, is now positioning itself off the coast of North Korea. Now, does the president have to go get congressional approval to take a shot at North Korea? Basically, they have broken no laws. I'm not saying that something doesn't have to be done. I just think somewhere along the line, the American people ought to have a say in this. Or should we just take the War Powers Act and throw it the hell out? 202-909-1492. Caller, you're with us on Ed Schultz Facebook Live. Hello.
Hello, Ed. It's Jared from Downingtown, PA. Nice to talk with you.
Good to be with you.
Anytime. This whole Syria thing, we haven't had a vote in Congress for any of this. So this, in my opinion, is totally outright unconstitutional. Assad did not attack us. Assad, in fact, we don't even know if Assad even used chemical weapons in Syria. So I think this is escalating out of control.
So let me tell you the latest within the last hour. Howard Dean, the former chair of the DNC and presidential candidate, who's a regular talking head on the mainstream, has now said that Tulsi Gabbard should get out of the United States Congress because she's saying the same thing you're saying. She's questioning whether Assad was actually behind the chemical weapons attack that took place and killed all the men, women, and children that the president has been talking about. The other question, diverting a little bit here, people want to know why Russia is in Syria. They're in Russia because they've been invited by the stated government of Assad. The United States would be operating illegally in Syria because we have not been officially invited to take any action on their behalf. The rebels are the rebels, and the independent groups are the independent groups. They're not the government. So this is, I just think, and we're going to do this story tonight on RT, there needs to be some clarification here. I mean, okay, the strike is done. But what about North Korea? And what about further strikes into Syria? The Russians and the Iranians and Assad of Syria have told the United States that if you hit us again, and this is Putin talking, if you hit him again, there's going to be military response. Now, Americans, you got to think about this a little bit. Do you really want to get into it with Russia over this desert rat named Assad? I mean, is that what you want to do? Do you want men and women going boots on the ground, military action, possible response from another superpower because you're concerned about who runs the country of Assad? Notice how the conversation about the administration is that Sean Spicer called them a threat to the United States today, that Syria is a threat. And we have done an absolute 180 on our policy with Syria. They're now saying that there's no stability under Assad, and we're going to hold open all options. In other words, there may be another strike. So I think there's some room for at least some conversation and concern here. Final comment. Go ahead.
Well, Ed, let me tell you, as the grandson of somebody who fought in World War II, the Korean War, and left the Marines when Vietnam was getting crazy because he didn't want to go to fight over there and he just wanted to be a drill sergeant. Let me tell you, I have a brother who is in the Special Forces, and I am sick of all of these insane wars. I have known war my whole life.
Okay, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. 202-909-1492. You're on with Ed Schultz, Facebook Live. Hello.
Thank you, Ed. You know, in 2013, Trump says to Obama, stay out of Syria, don't bomb. the Republicans don't pass him to be able to do bombing, to attack them. Now, without any Congress approving this, now they're behind Trump. Why? Because he's a Republican. But what are they stepping into? Like you just said, Russia makes a comment if there's any more attacks or counterattacks or whatever it might be, there's going to be repercussions. How come it's okay for the Republicans to do it, but not President Obama, who could have probably handled this back then in 2013? You know, we're always putting our foot into our mouths, and Trump doesn't know a darn thing. He knows nothing. He's a 70-year-old diaper-wearing crybaby who's relying on people giving him information. He's got his entire family in his cabinet. He's a puppet to Putin and his family. He knows nothing. Why
do you say he's a puppet to Putin when he's about ready to have a confrontation with him?
No. He has a confrontation with Syria. Putin might be there with Syria, but that doesn't mean there is going to be a confrontation because Trump has said nothing but nice things about...
Wait a second now.
Those are just words, Ed. They're just words.
Okay.
Now, they're aggressive words, and yes, there could be repercussions from Putin, but we really don't know. Okay. When it comes to Putin making an accusation or a Trump, if you do this, I'm going to do that, he might just back down to Putin because Putin knows that he's in his pocket. So even though there's that attack, there's still that overshadowing of a collusion.
All right, it takes two to talk here. Hang on a minute. For criminy. 202-909-1492. I mean, I can take a phone call, but I don't have to listen to a dissertation. What are you going for, your doctorate? 202-909-1492. Look, I don't think it's good that the head of a superpower is saying, you know what, if you take military action, there's going to be some military ramification. This is going to happen, folks. And so basically what the Russians are doing, they're calling out Trump, saying, not long ago you said it was okay for Assad to stay in power. And now you're saying that you want him out. Now that one of the stated goals, number one, is to defeat ISIS in Syria. Number two is regime change. And so, look, the Syrians and the Russians go back centuries when it comes to being an ally, okay? And this is getting to be a real nasty situation. Putin now says that he's not going to meet with Secretary of State Tillerson when he goes to Moscow here in the coming days. 202-909-1492.
All right. Hey, Ed, so when it comes to all of this, I mean, who is going to be the person to stand up? And I mean, we've seen it where, people are going back and forth. They're saying we didn't mind the action, but we need Trump to come to Congress. We've talked
Trump needs to go to Congress.
Absolutely. We've talked about this off camera, though, that, there's not a Ted Kennedy, not a Robert Byrd, not one of these guys who could really be that voice of reason in the Senate to really wake the American people up.
Well, there's a real parallel between what happened in the run-up to the war in Iraq and the kind of vernacular and the kind of hype that we're hearing right now in Washington. It's very similar. Everybody's got to get behind this Syrian thing or we're not American. Do the American people, that's the poll question. You may agree with the missile strike, but how far do you want to go? And that's basically what the adversaries are asking the United States right now. What is your policy on Syria? What do the American people want? 202-909-1492. This is Ed Schultz live on Facebook. We do this every day for about 15 minutes, give you an opportunity to respond. The White House says they're on solid ground. It doesn't sound like they're going to go back to Congress and ask for any kind of military authorization. In the meantime, we're setting the stage for a possible shot at North Korea. So are we supposed to run our foreign policy and the security of the country on the emotion and the bravado and the whim of the commander-in-chief, Donald Trump? You okay with that? And Congress is home on recess this week. I would assume some of them are still holding town hall meetings trying to figure out exactly what the hell to do on taxes and also on health care and a number of other issues. but you would think that maybe war might come up. 202-909-1492. People are quiet on a Monday. That's fine.
Well, it's a tough
That
issue.
works for me. That means I don't have to work very long.
And what are you thinking about what's going on with North Korea right now?
I think we're going to hit them. I think we're going to hit North Korea. And I think, are we spending all this military money to put all these ships in position against North Korea and just say, oh, we're just sending a message? We're not sending a message. We're going to hit those bastards. And what's going to happen is that this guy's not going to take the temperature of anybody. He's going to retaliate. And who knows where it's going to go. And so you've got, the Russians aren't too excited about that. Apparently, the president of China wasn't too excited about the hit on Syria. And he doesn't want nuclear weapons on the Korean Peninsula, but he sure as hell doesn't want to go to war over it. So what's the call? What is the call? We're not even trying to get the North Koreans to the diplomatic front, to get the Japanese, get Japan, get South Korea, get China, get Russia, the United States, get them all together and talk about a possibility of what can we do so you guys will cool your jets and not nuke anybody? That's where we are. Instead, Trump seems to be positioning himself to take action against North Korea. 202-909-1492. You're on Facebook Live with Ed Schultz. Hello. Go ahead.
This is Anne-Marie from Maitland, Florida.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm probably your youngest watcher.
Thank you.
My question is, what can we do to try to make a change? If we don't like what we're seeing, what can we do other than protest and sign petitions? Like, is there a job or something that we can apply for? Like, how can we make a change?
Well, have you joined any kind of organization that is advocating for change? Are you doing any volunteer work for maybe organizations that may parallel your thinking on what you think has to be done?
I have joined Wolfpack and Justice Democrats and other things that, I'm finding. I don't really want to run for office, but I want to try to make a change internal, and I'm not quite sure what else to do.
Well, look, I think that being active and an activist is what American democracy is all about. There's an election coming up. It's a long way from that, but there's a lot of groundwork that can be done between now and then. So you ask what you can do. I would say you can school yourself up on the issues that concern you or what you're interested in, know both sides of the story, understand your arguments, and advocate for them. I mean, that's exercising freedom. Is there an organization out there that you feel like you can align yourself with and vet their... Pardon me?
There's so many.
There are a lot of them. There's no doubt. What do you believe in? What do you want?
I want health care. I am terrified of losing my health care. My medicine is outrageously expensive. That's probably my biggest concern.
Well, then I think Bernie Sanders is probably your guy.
Oh, he is.
Oh, he is. Well, then you know what organization to join.
Yes.
And he could probably use your help. Thank you. I appreciate your call. 202-909-1492. When people start making phone calls like that and asking questions, what can they do? It's almost like they're in the political wilderness. Like they just want a little bit of direction. Or to the point that they've kind of given up hope and they're not really sure where they're going to go at the end of the day on all of this. Ed Schultz, Facebook Live. Gosh, it's 15 minutes long. I think that's all I'll work today. Unless you have another question, of course.
No, I think we're good, and we got big TV tonight.
We got huge TV tonight. We're going to talk about the use of military force and congressional approval and some of the conversation about all of that here in Washington. We're back tomorrow.